So it surprises you to learn that many of the foods that we today consider traditional European dishes, that their key ingredients were not even known in Europe until quite recently, until the Europeans started trading with the native people in North and South America. I mean, you're probably aware that the Americas provided Europe and Asia with food like squash, beans, turkey, squash? I don't know. Beans, turkey, peanuts. But what about all those Italian tomato sauces? Hungarian are my favorite French fries, those yummy fried potatoes. Wait, I mean, I knew potatoes were from where South America. South America, right? The Andes Mountains. When you were saying tomatoes too, I just assumed since they're used to so many Italian dishes. No, like potatoes, tomato grew widely in the Andes. Although unlike potatoes, they weren't originally cultivated there. Now that seems to occur first in Central America, and even then the tomato doesn't appear to have been very important as a food plant until the European came on the scene. They took it back to Europe with them around 1550, and Italy was indeed the first place where it's widely grown as a food crop. So in a sense, it really is more Italian than American. And another thing, and this is true of both potato and tomato, both of the plants are members of a nightshade family. The nightshade family is a category of plants which also include many that you don't want to eat, like mandrake, belladonna, and even tobacco. So it's no wonder that people once considered the tomatoes and the potatoes to be inedible too, even poisonous. And in fact, the leaves of the potato plant are quite toxic, so it took both plants quite a while to catch on in Europe, and even longer before it made a return trip to North America and became popular food items here. Yeah, I remember my grandmother telling me that when her mother was a little girl, a lot of people still thought tomatoes were poisonous. Oh, sure, people didn't really start eating them here until the mid 1800s. But seems like I heard didn't Thomas Jefferson grow them or something? Well, that's true. But then Jefferson is known not only as the third president of the United States, but also as a scholar who was way ahead of his time in many ways. He didn't let the conventional thinking of his day restrain his idea. Now, potatoes went through a similar sort of rejection process, especially when they were first introduced in Europe. You know how potatoes can turn green if they're left in the light too long, and that green of skin can make the potatoes taste bitter, even make you ill. So that was enough to put people off for over 200 years. Yes, Bill? I'm sorry, Professor Jones, but I mean, yeah, okay, American crafts have probably contributed a lot of European cooking over the years, but have they really played any kind of important role in European history? Well, as a matter of fact, yes. I was just coming to that. Let's start with North American corn, or maize, as it's often called. Now, before the Europeans made any contact with the Americas, they subsist mainly on grain. mainly grain that often suffered from crop failure. And largely for this reason, the political power in Europe was centered for centuries in the south around the Mediterranean Sea, which was where they could grow these grains with more reliability. But when corn came to Europe from Mexico, well, now they had a much hardier crop that could be grown easily in more northern climate, and centers of power began to shift accordingly. And then, well, as I said, potatoes weren't really popular at first, but when they finally catch on, which they did in Ireland around 1780, well, why do you suppose it happened? Because potatoes have the ability to provide abundant and extremely nutritious food crop. No other crop grew in North Europe at that time. How anything like the numbers of vitamins contained in potatoes. Plus, potatoes grow on the single acre of land could feed many more people than say if it grew on the same land. And potatoes soon spread to France and to other northern European countries, and as a result, the nutrition of the general population improved tremendously, and the population soared in the early 1800s, and so the shift of power from southern to northern Europe continued.